The markets are doomed and there's no coming back from it. That's it. That was the top. Trenches, done. Markets, done. Sol, done. It's probably the next XRP. All right, calm your asses down. I've been around for 4 years and my accuracy is extremely insane. I made quite a little bit of money, I would say, not to the point where I, would expect myself or you would expect me for what I'm about to show you to have made, because I'm a leverage monkey. I'm extremely over leveraged at times, and I still suffer from that because I'm a trencher at heart. I'm a meme coiner at heart. I'm a somewhat of a speculator at heart, if that's the right word for it. Now let's dive right into why we are still in a bull market and why the series of events that happen is to wash out players and to wash out gamblers and over-leveraged people. On February 17, 2022, I texted one of my friends, my good friend, Shinobi Signals, and said, Shinobi, I think ETH is going to 900. And at the time, it was trading at $3,100. And as we can tell, just around February 17, 2022 is where I texted him, and it fell all the way down to 900 to the dot. And from there, I publicly shorted into 2135, which is just right around here. It might not show up on this exchange, but it will show up on Binance or Bybit because that is where I was shorting it on. 2135 entry, and I did that publicly on my Twitter. It does show up pretty much the top, and I wrote it down here. I could have cashed out a lot more, but I cashed out down here because I said as well on that text, ETH is going to 4,000 from 900, and that was 3 years ago. So mind you, the little comparison that we're doing here, and I'm going to show you guys the scale of things, calling this out on February 17, 2022, and getting it right to a T on both a bottom and a top for the cycle. As you can tell, on an extended time frame, we fell down around 71%. And from there, proceeded to rally 350%. And then at 4,000, the call out that I did most recently, we fell down around 48%. Now on the scale of things, no one is right this much, but I'm a geek and I sit on the charts 18 hours a day and I look at previous price action because charts are just merely human emotions and everything is already priced in. Here's the crazy part. I did all this not looking at a single global metric, not looking at nothing. No Fed, no government, no world war, absolutely nothing, merely the chart. Now, as crazy as that sounds, I sincerely think that everything is priced in, that this is all a Ponzi and will forever going up. We are forever going up. Let me reiterate that. And the true winners are people who are just buying on the market, buying on spot, and holding their bags. Or the different set of winners, I would say, are people like myself who would find these levels and long at 5 to 10x leverage with great size. So what is the state of the market now? What are we looking forward? And a few hints, I would say, that are being dropped in front of your eyes by Bitcoin and by what's happening in the world that is just an extremely logical reasoning to where the market can go. So let's dive right into it. On October 2, 2024, Zero Hedge posted a very interesting article about the global liquidity and Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is very much so following into the global liquidity. As we can see on the screen here, Bitcoin is an expression against the government monetary expansion policy, so price follows global liquidity. And for the most part, there was an 83% relation between the global liquidity and Bitcoin. But on the other hand, Bitcoin also followed Nasdaq, the Nasdaq 100, the US tech stock index, right? And it had a 98% correlation at a point with the Nasdaq, meaning the same algorithms and the same players that are involved with the stock market are also involved with all the major cryptos. If you think it's a hedge against the government, it's a lie put out in front of you. Because the government is in on it too. Everyone is in on it too. It's all a Ponzi, understand that, okay? It's a Ponzi that goes up and down, right? I know individuals who know individuals that would call up someone, hey, drop the price, I'm gonna open 100x short or 100x long. And if I know these people, you can only fathom what huge entities like Binance, people from within Binance or Bybit or other huge entities like Wintermute are doing. They can print infinite loads of money. And I guarantee you there's some sort of collaboration with everyone of these big players. Now, this is just a educated guess that I'm doing. I take back what I said about guarantee. This is a complete educated guess because I'm very wary of how the markets move, right? It's a very repeating thing. It's filled with human emotions, and humans have patterns. If you look at the 1900s on the Dow Jones, for instance, Volcker's era, where the market dropped significantly, you will notice the same thing with ETH. It's the same pattern all over again. Same events, same pattern. It's all priced in. That's how I love looking at it, except for COVID. COVID, sure, some insiders knew about COVID, but things are priced in to move the way they are. I like to put it that way. So no matter what happens in the world, right, it's already priced in. So back to this article. This was posted on October 2, 2024, and it showed the Bitcoin chart moving sideways around 60K, showcasing that it is literally following the global index and that it's poised to move higher. Zero Hedge also retweeted this and posted this picture. The global M2 liquidity 3-month lead. As you can tell, Bitcoin is once again, they were completely right on this Bitcoin calculation that they did, or chart that they did, or prediction that they did, whatever you might want to call this. And I think they're going to be right again. Now, this is very new to me. I barely have seen this, but it piqued my interest, so I'm sharing it with you guys as well. Because I think, and I've been saying, Bitcoin 82K, 81.7K, and that's the bottom. For one reason, quite literally one reason. It's because it's extremely mainstream now. It's going to act like the S&P 500. Solana and ETH, I don't know anymore. I was right twice on ETH, and I was wrong 3 times on Sol, and I never put any sort of price prediction for Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is the most clear one to analyze, and Bitcoin is the most clear one per se to look at and find a bottom, and find a top, and find the market direction. So I'm a player that moves sideways, I would say. If I see something that makes a lot more sense for me to essentially go like, all right, I'm more confident in this to find out where the market is headed, then I would just switch to that. My indice to that, my market directional indice was ETH, but not anymore because Bitcoin is now leading. Now let's retrace back to why Bitcoin. Once again, it's too mainstream. There can't be a bear market. Bitcoin, not ETH, not Sol, Bitcoin. But because Solana and ETH are major markets or major pairs, in the current market that Bitcoin exists in, they're bound to go up. How high? Don't know. Bitcoin, how high? Don't know. I cannot predict or foresee prices that has never existed. I'm not a wizard. I look at current price action and visualize that on my own lens per se to find out where can price go to, where can the market react off of major levels that 99% of people just underlook because everyone's busy, giga leveraging or finding out the next meme coin. Also, something to mention, I'm a person who not only called the top on the market, on the crypto market, if I'm using the correct word, I also called the top on the S&P 500 around 473, which translates to just about right here. Pretty much right there is when I called the crash of the century and wrote it down for a 2,000% gainer on options. And I kept rolling them out and rolling them out and rolling them out until it stopped working down here. So my credentials were pretty well off, I would say. All of this stuff you can double check on my Twitter and hover over 2 years ago or back to January 2022 when I made this post. Everything is on Twitter once again, so you can just fact check me. Now, I think my educated guess is that Bitcoin is now just like the S&P 500. Now, what does that mean? Quite simple. We are going to be going up forever. We are essentially going to be going up for the rest of our lives. It will never stop going up, but it's going to experience corrections. 25, 30%, maybe 40% corrections in worst case scenarios. But the markets forever are going to be going up. Funny enough, I've stumbled across another article by Michael Saylor, or was it, I believe, a video, not completely sure, where he said it's going to beat the S&P 500 year over year on returns. That's when something really clicked in me. And I was like, wait a minute. The president endorsed crypto, launched his own coin, and he's putting stuff into action with the Feds. Because the Feds, when they came out on FOMC, when Solana was trading at 226, they said something about banks being able to serve customers with crypto. And that is something very doable. And that is beyond bullish. Maybe not for the short term, obviously, because we dipped a lot. And Solana's down like maybe 40% since then, or 35, something along the lines of that. But it is extremely bullish for the long term, meaning it's here to stay. And now it's more mainstream than ever. So let's take a look at the biggest corrections that the S&P 500 had ever since the 2000s. 44%, 50%. Here's another one. 17%, 14%, 12%, 10%, 20%, 31%, 25%. So you guys can see, even on the S&P, it experiences bear markets, if that's the word for it. Now, I need you, listener, to change your perspective on what a bear market is, because that doesn't exist anymore, given the fact that it's all mainstream now. We are never going to see anything like this again. That is never going to happen ever again. Mind you, for one main reason. It's because it's too mainstream. The distribution and accumulation of crypto has finally concurred and happened. That's it. There's no more accumulation. Now it's up to players to push it higher and higher and higher and higher. Obviously, it depends on the project and who's behind it. VCs, hedge funds, entities. Bitcoin, for the most part, is backed by fucking governments, man. You know? And there's Michael Saylor over here printing millions of dollars, billions of dollars from his own Ponzi stock and buying back Bitcoin with non-existent money to pump his own bags because he understands it. But this guy is too over-leveraged, and maybe one day he's going to get washed away. I don't know. Most likely. But that's not our main topic. Our main topic is how it relates to the S&P and how it is going to be moving forward. So far, Bitcoin went down 21% from all-time highs, making it an extremely good buying opportunity. But I'm a very specific person, and I want to see Bitcoin trading at 82K before I personally make a move, which sums down to just around 25% in terms of correction. Now, here's where psychology comes in my analysis. Everyone is looking at a 74K Bitcoin and how it can go down to 74K. That trade becomes automatically overcrowded, and that's not going to happen. When everyone is expecting something, you want to expect the totally opposite. But you want to use your creative mind and the time that you have on the screen to quote unquote predict or foresee the near future and what could potentially happen in the market. This is what you call a fair value, right? This is when a huge move happens on the market with no time to correct, with no time to go sideways. 80.4K. I don't think we're going to see 80.4K. I think at most we'll see 82K for the most part. This is something to keep an eye on for one main reason. Let's put the 0.5, which gives us just around 80K on the dot. And from there, we're going to be doing this as well. Boom, boom. Going to extend the lines to the right, and we're going to enable the 0.618 as well. And then we're going to be diving into a smaller time frame to showcase this level, as well as highlighting the top that we had over here. Now you can only imagine what Bitcoin would look like if it does something like this, or what the sentiment would look like if Bitcoin does something like this. Let me pull up Bitcoin here, just show you guys what the sentiment would like, visualize it for you guys for the most part. If Bitcoin looks like this, now imagine the sentiment. If Bitcoin looks like this coming to the next month, right? All the way down here, how would people think, right? How would people feel into Bitcoin going back up to 92K and falling down to 82, right? So now, here is where the psychology comes in. Everyone wants to buy Bitcoin at 74K. It's already on the timeline everywhere. Everyone thinks that Bitcoin is just going to slide down to 74K and this is going to be the bottom. It doesn't work like that. When a trade is overcrowded, it never happens. And oftentimes when a trade is overcrowded, that's when you want to exit. And currently, the trade is overcrowded to the downside, but with different expectations. So there's two sides of the coin here. When a trade is overcrowded, like when you're up here, Bitcoin 200K, didn't happen. And now Bitcoin is 74K. Everyone, even Ansem on Twitter, saying Bitcoin is 74K because it dropped under 90. Now, 82K, Bitcoin 82K would be max copium. And it's just terrible. Like the sentiment would be so bad. Everyone would be like, I told you so. I can't wait to buy Bitcoin at 74K or even 60K. Never going to happen. That's where the market, I think, is going to bottom. This is where I think the market, for the most part, is going to have its final shakeout, I would say, right into 82K. It makes the most perfect sense and lines up with a 25% correction overall on the major indice of the crypto market. As for the trenches, as far of a bull market, the bull market is here to stay and will forever going up. It's that simple. Spot buyers, people buying on leverage, extremely low leverage at such price levels, such as 83K, 84K, 82K, I think are the bigger winners in the big picture. And the state of the trenches, I would say, is somewhat cooked, is very reminiscent of the NFTs, but the trenches are here to exist. But here's the thing. So when money outflows out of Solana, out of Bitcoin, out of ETH, that's when we see people rotating their money into the trenches. It's how it works. It's how meme coins work. The more money out of Bitcoin, the more money into trenches. But now there's going to be a rotation back into Bitcoin, back into Solana, and back into ETH. So the volume in the trenches is going to die down. It's how it works. And because the volume is going to die down on the trenches, I would highly advise people just stacking their bread, real life work, real life job, in buying Bitcoin on spot. That's my only advice to everyone. And that's how you survive. And many of you have my public wallet. I'm only in one coin, which is Kendo, Real Kendo by Luke Alexander. And that's it. It's an AI project, and I'm supporting it all the way. And I think that coin sees a few hundred million in market cap. And I haven't really been trenching. Since Libra happened and I lost like closer to 100 SOL on Libra, I just didn't touch any meme coin because I already understood the state of the trenches. And I only bought Libra because the president launched it. And I thought it's like another Trump, maybe 20, 30 billion market cap at most. But Gaydon rugged it. And yeah, this pretty much sums it up in terms of where Bitcoin goes, where the market goes. TLDR, we are still in a bull market, and there's only going to be 20 to 25% corrections, maybe 40 at most in terms of Bitcoin in the near future. But it's only up. And the real winners are going to be people buying on spot.